People think intimacy is soft, that it's candlelight, long talks at midnight, and the safety of someone's arms. But the truth is, real intimacy is brutal. It strips you down, takes away your practiced smiles, and forces you to show the parts of yourself you usually hide. When you let someone that close, it's not always pretty. Suddenly, your fears, your flaws, your secrets are right there in the open. And that's why so many people run. They crave closeness, but not the mirror it holds up. In this video, we're looking at 7 brutal facts about intimacy that almost no one talks about. Stay until the end. Some of these truths may feel uncomfortably close to home. Fact 1. Intimacy exposes your fears. Intimacy has a cruel edge. It drags your fears into the open. Think about the first time you really let someone in. Maybe you told them about a mistake you regret, or a part of your past you usually keep quiet. For a moment, your chest tightens. Because what if they laugh? What if they pull away? What if they see you differently? That's the first brutal truth about intimacy. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that 60% of people fear being fully vulnerable in relationships because they expect rejection if they show their true selves. For some, it's the fear of being abandoned. That's why a late text or a quiet afternoon can suddenly feel like a storm. For others, it's the fear of not being enough. You share a story, they look distracted, and instantly your mind starts racing. Did I say something wrong? Am I boring? These little moments feel bigger because intimacy puts your deepest insecurities on the stage. The closer someone matters, the more power they have to hurt you. That's why a late text or a distracted glance can feel like rejection. But here's where intimacy changes everything. When those fears are met with patience, when you risk showing your cracks and the other person stays, that's when healing begins. Not because they erase your fear, but because you finally learn that being seen doesn't always end in rejection. Sometimes it ends in love that feels even stronger because of it. Fact 2. Intimacy isn't built in big moments. When people imagine intimacy, they picture dramatic confessions, tearful conversations, or grand romantic gestures. But the truth is, real closeness is built in the tiny, almost invisible moments. The way someone listens when you talk about your day, the way they remember how you take your coffee, the way they notice you're quiet and ask, "Are you okay?" These details sound small, but they're what actually build trust. Anyone can light candles for one night, but only the person who remembers how you take your coffee every morning builds real closeness. It's those quick check-ins, those random bursts of affection, those "I thought of you" texts that lay the foundation. And if they're missing, no amount of big gestures can cover up the cracks. Think of it this way. A relationship is like a house. Grand gestures is the paint on the walls, but intimacy is the bricks holding those walls up. Without them, the structure collapses, no matter how nice it looks from the outside. And the brutal part is if someone only shows intimacy in rare, dramatic moments, you'll always feel like you're chasing security instead of living in it. Because true closeness isn't about proving love once in a while. It's about proving reliability every single day. So pay attention to the ordinary. How does he treat you on a random Tuesday? How does she respond when you're stressed and short-tempered? Those moments tell you more about intimacy than 100 roses ever could. Fact 3. Intimacy demands vulnerability. There's no intimacy without risk. If you stay guarded, closeness stays shallow. Vulnerability is the gate you have to walk through, and there's no way around it. Think about the moments when you've truly bonded with someone. It's rarely when you are putting on your best face. It's in the moment you let someone see you wiping away tears on the kitchen floor. It's when you revealed something you swore you'd never tell anyone. those moments carry weight because they're risky. You're handing over pieces of yourself that could be judged, dismissed, or even used against you. That's why intimacy feels brutal at times. Vulnerability can feel like standing in the middle of a room without armor. But without it, the connection stays shallow. You might laugh together, spend time together, even share physical affection, but there will always be a wall that blocks real closeness. Of course, not everyone earns that kind of access. Vulnerability isn't only about spilling your secrets, it's about choosing someone who shows they can be trusted with them. And when you get that right, vulnerability stops being terrifying and starts becoming a glue that makes two people inseparable. So yes, intimacy asks for courage. It asks you to step past your pride and your fear, but the reward is a bond you can't build any other way. Fact 4. Intimacy isn't always comfortable. We like to imagine intimacy as safe and soothing, a place where we feel completely accepted, and often it is. But the deeper truth is that closeness can also make you uncomfortable, because it means letting someone see the sides of yourself you don't usually face. It shows up in the smallest moments. Maybe you're frustrated after work and exaggerating a story, expecting your partner to agree. Instead, they just pause and say, "I don't think that's the full picture." Maybe they catch the way you shut the cupboard a little too hard and call you out before you even realize you're angry. Hearing it isn't easy, but that's what intimacy does. It mirrors you back to yourself, even the parts you'd rather keep hidden. This is where many people confuse intimacy with comfort. A comfortable relationship avoids tension, keeps things light, and never digging in too deep. But intimacy? That doesn't let you stay hidden. It pushes you to grow even when the truth can really sting. Of course, it matters how that truth is shared. But intimacy brings things into the open, not to tear you down, but to help you become better. That's why the discomfort of closeness, as hard as it feels, is also what makes it so powerful. Fact 5. Intimacy requires consistency. Closeness doesn't grow out of one deep talk or a single romantic night. It's built quietly, piece by piece, through consistent effort. This intimacy we're talking about can't survive on occasional bursts of connection. If it comes and goes depending on mood or convenience, the bond never feels steady. Think about how trust really develops. It's not because someone once said, "I love you" with passion. It's because they kept showing up when it mattered. It's the partner who calls when they said they would. The friend who remembers the details you mentioned weeks ago. The small gestures that prove, over time, your steady habit of showing up always. In fact, a study in the journal Personal Relationships found that couples who engage in consistent small acts of care, like check-ins or small favors, report 62% higher relationship satisfaction than those who rely mainly on grand gestures. The opposite is just as telling. Someone can be warm and attentive one week, then distant and unavailable the next. That inconsistency makes intimacy feel fragile, like you're always guessing where you stand. And nothing erodes closeness faster than uncertainty. Perfection isn't required. Everyone has off days. What matters is the pattern. Intimacy grows when someone proves you can rely on them, not occasionally, but as a steady rhythm in your life. And while consistency may seem less exciting than grand romance, it's the quiet proof that allows love to go deeper. Fact 6. Intimacy means letting go of control. One of the things is realizing you can't control how the other person sees you. You can try to manage your image with the outside world, but in a close relationship, the mask always slips. They see you tired, anxious, distracted, or irritated. They notice your habits and the things you don't show anyone else. For many people, that lack of control feels terrifying. If you've built your life around appearing strong, intimacy forces you to admit weakness. If you've always tried to be the funny one, it shows the moments when you're quiet and hurting. It's like standing under a spotlight without being able to choose which parts of you are revealed. But here's the paradox. Intimacy only deepens when you surrender that control. When you stop trying to curate yourself and let the other person see the unfiltered version of who you are. That's where the bond becomes real. Yes, this isn't easy. Some people run from intimacy because they can't bear the thought of losing that grip on their image. They'd rather keep things surface level than risk being fully known. But the truth is, there's no way to have closeness without risk. The very thing that makes intimacy feel so brutal is that you can't control it. And that's what makes it authentic. Because when someone sees you fully and still chooses to stay, that's when intimacy turns into trust. Fact 7, intimacy is a choice you make daily. The last brutal truth is that intimacy doesn't just happen once and then stay forever. It's a choice over and over again. Every day you decide whether to lean in or to pull back, whether to be open or to stay guarded. It shows up in small decisions. Do you roll over and check your phone or reach out and pull them closer? Do you reach for their hand when things feel tense, or do you turn away? Do you listen when they open up or let the moment pass because you're distracted? Those choices add up. Over time, they decide whether intimacy grows stronger or slowly fades into distance. And that's what makes intimacy a bit harsh, because it asks for effort, even when you're tired, even when it would be easier to retreat. Sometimes it means admitting you're wrong, apologizing when you'd rather defend yourself, or having a difficult conversation you'd rather avoid. But intimacy is also the reward for those choices. When two people keep showing up, even in the small ways, the connection deepens. It stops being fragile and becomes the place you turn to when life gets heavy. So if intimacy feels like work, that's because it is. It's not built in one dramatic moment, but in the quiet daily decision to stay honest, stay present, and stay connected. That's what makes it rare, and that's what makes it worth it. People imagine intimacy is easy, but the truth is, it's demanding, uncomfortable, and yes, brutal. Yet it's the only thing that makes love feel real. Because intimacy isn't being loved for your mask, it's being seen completely and still chosen. And when you find that, every ounce of fear becomes worth it. If this resonated with you, give it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you want to be here for more honest conversations about love and connection. See you in the next video.